Ready when you are.
I'll call this meeting of the Seward City Council to order. It is Monday, April 29th at 7 p.m. and we are here. Chief, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Okay, roll call for tonight's meeting. Finch?
Here.
And Osenga is excused. Calhoun?
Here.
Wells?
Here.
Barnwell?
Here.
Kreitz?
Here.
And Mayor McClure.
Here.
Okay, you have a quorum.
Thank you. We're now to citizen comments on any subject except items scheduled for public hearing. We do have 3 public hearing items. You can speak to those then. If you want to speak now, you'll have a chance of 3 minutes. And there's a 36-minute total for this segment. And if you've signed in, you'll get the first shot, and then I'll take shows of hands. If other people want to speak, when you come up, you need to give us your name, and if you live inside or outside the city limits, that's just for some reason, I think, for the record. So, Mr. Clerk, who's signed up?
Nobody is signed in to speak.
Well, gee. Yes, I see one there. Come on up.
And then awful, I forgot to sign in. Cheryl Cease, 531 First Avenue, and good evening, everybody. I'd like here to talk about Ordinance 2024-006, about the Jeep Trail Mount Marathon.
Yeah, that's a public hearing.
But it's also a discussion item, though, that if you just want to talk about the parking at the trailhead.
Yes.
Well, I do.
If you, I think if you
I
want,
thought that said right here, I could talk about that here.
there's a discussion item later. You could speak to that, which is kind of what you're. But if you want to talk about the rezoning, such things, you just wait a little bit for the public hearing.
Talk about parking.
Well, I don't like the parking there. Is that what you
I mean, I think I know where you're coming from. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just the
Well,
parking, not the rezone?
Okay, I won't say anything about rezoning.
Okay. Then we'll start your time again, and that's okay. Thank you for
That's
that.
all right. I live next door to the Jeep Trail, which is the 537 First. And like most of you people that know, that is for a Jeep Trail for the emergency to go up on the mountain. And anybody that's here, I'm sure you remember in 2012, we had to go up there several times. It wasn't just one time, it was many, many times, and unfortunately, we couldn't find him. Anyway, so for many years, the hikers haven't paid attention to the sign. It isn't really the hikers, it's the hikers' cars. But lately, I don't know why, the last several years now, they have been parking in there. And the signs do say no parking, but they weren't big enough. And when they did put new signs up that were red, the arrows were pointing the opposite way, in front of my house and the red fourplex next door, instead of towards the trail. And so when I complained about that, they came and removed one of the signs and put up a little short sign that had been there before on a cement block that kept tipping over all the time. We had to go pick it back up. Well, I used to put on a little note on the windows. I made a bunch of them up and said, "What part of no parking don't you understand?" And the police thought that maybe I shouldn't do that, just to call them. So I started calling the police every time, sitting right behind the cars, and telling them the license number and what kind of car it is and the color. And the police would come. I have no idea exactly what they did, but they got out and put something on the window, but I never went back over to look at them. And in the new signs that they're talking about, by putting up no parking, emergency only access, I hope that won't think, people hiking it would think that emergency exit or entrance only, because we do like them to climb there. And let's see. And also I wanted to say thank you to Norm Regis and Nort Adelmann for their service to Seward. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Did I do okay?
You
You
did
did
it.
great.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak at this point? Okay, seeing none, I will move us along to approval of the agenda and the consent agenda, and I'd ask for a motion to approve in a second, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda and the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any changes that anyone wants to make? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Clerk, we're ready to vote.
Okay, voting on the approval of tonight's agenda and consent agenda. Finch,
Yes.
Barnwell,
Yes.
Kreitz,
Yes.
Calhoun,
Yes.
Wells,
Yes.
and Mayor McClure.
Yes.
Okay, your agenda and consent agenda have been approved, and approved on the consent agenda were the April 15th, 2024 City Council meeting minutes, the introduction of Ordinance 2024-008, amending Seward City Code 2.30.225 and 16.01, responsibilities of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and no grounds for protest to the liquor license renewal for Zudi's Cafe. And that was everything on consent.
Okay, thank you. Now we're to why everyone is here, I think. I'm seeing the faces. We have two proclamations, and the first is for Norm Regis. And you could come on up, and so people can see your smiling face while I read this. And bring your wife along. Okay, so here is the proclamation. Whereas Norm Regis joined the City of Seward on June 12, 1994, and went on to serve the City of Seward for almost 30 years. Whereas Norm started with the City of Seward as a temporary correctional officer, and whereas in August of 1994, Norm became a full-time harbor worker 2, and in December of 2007 was promoted to harbor worker 3, and whereas while working for the harbor, Norm served in the City of Seward Police Reserve Program from 2001 to 2004, which is just one of the many instances of his volunteerism and dedication to the community. And whereas in January of 2011, Norm was promoted to Deputy Harbor Master, and whereas in June of 2015, Norm was promoted to his current position as Harbor Master, and whereas in 2018, Norm was awarded Harbor Master of the Year by the Alaska Association of Harbor Masters and Port Administrators, and whereas Norm stepped up and filled the role of acting city manager several times over the course of his career, and whereas Norm has played a huge part in the improvements and growth of our Seward Boat Harbor and the expansion of services in Seward Marine Industrial Center, and whereas Norm is a strong team leader and respected colleague, he will be missed by everyone in the city. Now therefore, I, Sue McClure, Mayor of the City of Seward, Alaska, do hereby thank Norm Regis for his many years of service and his numerous contributions to the City of Seward, and wish him all the best in his retirement, dated this day, 29th of April, 2024, City of Seward, signed by myself. Congratulations. And I think we expect you to say a few words.
I could try. So I couldn't do it with all my lovely wives. And I want to thank everybody who worked my crew here and everybody in councils in the past. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Nort.
You will be missed. And on that note, we have another proclamation. This is recognizing, I did not know your first name, but this is recognizing Lord Adelmann. Did you know his name is actually Richard? I did not know that. I love how these surprises happen in front of everyone. Okay, so here is your proclamation. Whereas Nort Adelmann has devoted his career to serving the residents of Seward since 1993, He began working in the Harbor Department and after a little over 3 years, made his way to Water and Wastewater Department in 1997. This is where he shined, and he moved up the ladder within the city department.
Sorry.
This is going on here.
That's polishing a turd.
His presence will be deeply missed by his colleagues and the entire city of Seward. Whereas Nort has diligently worked long hours collecting water samples, managing and training his team, and assisting the streets department during early mornings and evenings for snowstorms, flash floods, and rock slides. And whereas Nort is set to retire from the city of Seward April 30th, 2024, and is looking forward to spending more time in this beautiful community, as well as taking some much-needed vacations to visit his grandchildren and family. And whereas we celebrate and congratulate Richard Nort Adelmann on his well-deserved retirement after dedicating over 30 years of outstanding service to the city of Seward with remarkable contributions to the Public Works Department as the water wastewater foreman. Now, therefore, I, Sue McClure, Mayor of the City of Seward, express my heartfelt appreciation to Richard Nort Adelmann for his many years of service, unwavering dedication, and outstanding contributions to the City of Seward. I wish him all the best in his retirement. Dated this 29th day of April 2024, Seward, Alaska. You need to say a few words. And
They say if you love your job, you never work a day in your life. So I probably only worked 15 years. and I had a good time. It was a lot of fun. I was trying to find pictures of the equipment when I showed up there to the rolling stock we have right now. Night and day. You guys have done a wonderful job of getting the toys that they need to do their jobs. So, yeah, but now in retirement, I'm going to spend a little more time with the grandkids, being more of a dad instead of always going for the next paycheck, providing for the family. Now I'm going to sit and watch these guys. So, thank you all.
So that's one of the fun parts of the job we have. And thank you. Okay, next we have the city manager report, which begins on page 7, and I'll turn it over to our city manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, that's just super exciting. I want to say thank you to Nort and I'll let everybody head out.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I would point out that it's pretty rare for anybody to hold a job for 30 years nowadays with the new breed of people we have, so that's quite an achievement.
Yeah, we were lucky to have some remarkable people retire today, so I'm really grateful for both Nort and Norm on their retirement. Yeah, I'm at a little bit of a loss for words there. So I will tell the community that we're going to be enforcing parking in the harbor starting May 1st. So as you are getting ready for the summer season, seasonal parking passes are now on sale through Parks and Recreation for $50 for the whole summer. So be sure to get that going and get ready. The parking enforcement will start May 1st. We're going to be a little lenient while people get used to that again, but as you're down there, be sure to pay attention to the parking signs and park appropriately in the harbor area. Other than that, I think Jason and I attended the Economic Development District last week, which was a really great meeting. We got to touch base with a lot of different people from across the peninsula, and I'm happy to report I was able to meet with Senator Sullivan for a few moments and discuss some of the priorities since we were unable to meet with him in person when we were in DC. It was great to make that connection and get some FaceTime with the senator in Kenai. Other than that, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer, but the report is in your packet.
Okay, are there any questions? Yes, Councilmember Calhoun.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Do we have, I know you said we're waiting for some final information from ADEC on the Jesse Lee home property.
That's right.
Have we gotten any more? Jason, you're not smiling.
No, I'm not smiling. We do not have any more information yet, but I do really feel like we are getting close to the end of the tunnel. The light's getting bigger, and so I think we're talking about some very small things now, and ADEC has had a lot of turnover, which has been part of the problem, because then someone else has to pick it up, and it takes a while, and they get it going, and so that's actually one of the major reasons why this is kind of dragged on as long as it has. And there were some kind of unexpected findings, but they're working all that out. But I am hopeful that we'll hear soon that we have a clean bill of health at this point, and then we can put it back into your hands, and you guys can make final decisions about what you would like to see on that property. So, but I will let you know. You'll probably hear me like exclaiming when that is actually done. But yeah, I'll let you guys know, and then we can schedule a work session or whatever you guys want to do at that point.
Follow up?
Yeah, just one other thing.
Oh,
Thank you, Madam
yeah.
Mayor. Just to say, I think it's great that, Jason, you attended the GFOA training, and I know that the city manager did that also, so I think that's going to be beneficial for all of us as we move forward. Thanks for
Yep,
that.
thank you for allowing me to do that.
And thank you for asking that, because I was going to ask for a public update on Jesse Lee property too. Other questions for them? Jason, did you have anything to add?
No comments. No.
Okay. No questions? Okay. So we'll move to the city clerk report, which you'll find on page 15, and you've got something to report.
Yes, we'd like to update council that we have got ourselves a ball game for the high school student exchange.
Yeah.
We have 4 applicants who have gone through our interviews and are looking forward to going. So this August, when the 4 Japanese students come here, then our group of students will go back to O'Hara with them. So we're pretty excited about it, and this will be the first time since 2019 that Seward has done this. So hoping no one bails out.
Awesome. That's exciting.
How long
Councilmember
will they be
Fitch.
here?
About a week.
Maybe we should entertain them a little.
He has something in mind, I know. Well, we'll be involved in that.
Did you have anything to add, Jody?
No, they're gonna be actually coming the first week, and then we're all gonna fly back with them, so we're gonna share that plane ride back with them
Cool.
when we go
That'd be
back.
fun.
Exciting. Any other questions about that? Thank you for all of that. Oh, there is? I'm sorry.
How old are they?
Let's see, is it?
I think the majority of them are, or they're 16 and 17-year-olds between the 4 of them.
Councilmember Wells.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Do we have the lodging set up for them?
Chris is actually working on that right now, so
Okay.
don't have them set in stone.
Let me know if I can be of help.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Okay, anything else for the clerk? Did you have any other report?
Oh,
Breaks.
That
there
was
were
it?
some business license statistics that Karen wanted to add, just for your review.
Yeah, and that's on page 15, and it's really good. A total of 584 fees have been paid at $30 each, so people should know if they're doing business in the city of Seward, you need a license. Period.
Or 2 or 3.
Or 2 or 3 or 4.
Yeah, okay. Do we have the Chamber of Commerce report?
So that one is going to be written only. She couldn't make it tonight.
Okay.
Regrets, but she hopes to be at the next council meeting.
Okay, and so we can find that on page 16, or if you have the packet online, it's on page 16. She talks about 4th of July, Salmon Derby, and all sorts of things. So. Okay, moving along, we have no presentations. We're down to the public hearings already. Seeing not a lot of public out here, I think this might go rather quickly. So, public hearings, we have 3 items, ordinances for enactment. The first one is ordinance 2024-005. Mr. Clerk, would you read that into the record, please?
Ordinance 2024-005, approving the land use amendment to rezone Fort Raymond subdivision replat number 7, lot 10A-2, located at 905 Sea Line Avenue, from an institutional zoning district to an auto commercial zoning district.
Okay, thank you, and you'll find that on page 61 of the packet. I'd need a motion to enact and a second, please.
Make a motion to enact ordinance 2024-005.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Administration, who wants to talk about this?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm actually going to invite Community Development Director Danny up to speak to this,
Okay,
and then have him stay for all three.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. So this ordinance involves the recent land sale of the parcel just north to this parcel is something that City Council recently approved to Seward City Tours and rezoned that to auto commercial, and in doing so that left this kind of isolated institutional parcel. And from what I understand, this was before I started, but we said that we would do a little housekeeping to get that in line with the rest of the auto commercial parcels there, and so we're just following through with that, and Planning and Zoning approved that recommendation to you all.
Okay, thank you. You might want to stay there just in case we have questions, but first, I will open the public hearing and ask the clerk, has anyone signed in?
Nobody is signed in for the public hearings tonight.
Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak?
There's no one in the audience.
Well, that person could be. So I won't discount. Okay, so I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council. Are there any questions from council? This looks pretty straightforward. I think we're ready to vote, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, voting on the enactment of ordinance 2024-005, Barnwell,
Yes.
Wells,
Yes.
Finch,
Yeah.
Calhoun,
Yes.
Kreitz,
Yes.
and Mayor McClure.
Yes.
Okay, that ordinance has been enacted.
Okay, next, we have ordinance 2024-006. And when you're ready, Mr. Clerk, could you read that?
Ordinance 2024-006, approving the land use amendment to rezone Seward Townsite Marathon Edition, Lot 29, located at 537 First Avenue, from a single-family residential zoning district to a park zoning district, as recommended in the Municipal Lands Inventory and Management Plan.
Okay, thank you, and that's on page 68. I'd need a motion to enact and a second, please.
I'll make a motion to enact ordinance 2024-006.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Administration.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to invite Community Development Director Danny to speak to this.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Yes, when I started my position, that's one of the first things I did was look through the municipal lands inventory and management plan, and these next two ordinances involve recommended zone change that have already gone through planning and zoning and the city council had approved. This one was exciting because we actually had several members of the public come in and voice their support. And so essentially it's taking what is informally known as the Mount Marathon Jeep Trailhead from a residential lot into a park zone to keep that preserved for future use.
Okay, thank you. I will open the public hearing on ordinance 2024-006. Mr. Clerk, do you have anyone?
And nobody is signed in to speak.
And the audience does not wish to speak, so I will close the public hearing and bring it back to council. Councilmember Finch.
Yes, I know we're going to discuss signs later on for that, but is there any way of putting concrete parking barricades up there? Because I know how bad it is up there with that.
I don't know at the time, but we can talk about that in the discussion about parking at the trailhead.
I think
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but
That
yeah.
doesn't have anything to do with
it'll
the
give us
meeting.
something to
Yeah,
think
we-
about for a few minutes.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? This is something that is also needed. Good on you. I think we're ready to vote.
Voting on the enactment of ordinance 2024-006, Kreitz,
Yes.
Calhoun,
Yes.
Finch,
Yes.
Wells,
Yes.
Barnwell,
Yes.
and Mayor McClure.
Yes.
Okay, that ordinance has been enacted.
And lastly, we have ordinance 2024-007. Mr. Clerk, would you please read that?
Ordinance 2024-007, approving the land use amendment to rezone Gateway Subdivision Addition Number 2, Tract C4, C5, C6, and C7, Tract C-6 located at 2301 Crabapple Street from a single-family residential zoning district to an institutional zoning district as recommended in the Municipal Lands Inventory Management Plan.
Okay, and you'll find that on page 75 of the packet. I'd need a motion to enact and a second, please.
I'll make a motion to enact ordinance 2024-007.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Administration.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Danny?
Thank you. So this parcel of land is home to the North Water Tank and Pumping Facility that the city owns, and so this parcel does not have any future use to be developed residential, and because it's in that residential zone, it requires a conditional use permit. So switching it to institutional would just allow that facility there outright, and goes along with that, again, the recommended change in the municipal lands plan.
Okay, thank you. I'll open the public hearing on 2024-007. Mr. Clerk,
Nobody is signed in to speak.
does anyone wish to speak? Seeing none, close the public hearing, and then bring it back to council. Questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, we are ready to vote.
Voting on the enactment of Ordinance 2024-007. Calhoun?
Yes.
Barnwell?
Yes.
Wells?
Yes.
Kreitz?
Yes.
Finch?
Yes.
And Mayor McClure.
Yes.
Okay, that ordinance has been enacted.
Wow, good job. Thank you. So we have only one more item of business, and it is under new business, other new business, discuss parking signs at the Mount Marathon Hiking Trailhead. And page 83 begins some informational pictures and et cetera. Administration, do you want to say anything before we?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to start with giving some background on where this is coming from. I believe when the rezone was at Planning and Zoning, this discussion came up, and Planning and Zoning is just looking for some guidance from administration since it was discussed so heavily in there. One thing to note based off of Councilmember Finch's recommendation is that it is utilized as an emergency access road when there are emergencies on the mountain, and as we are all aware, that has happened in the past, and we have thousands of people run up the mountain every summer. So having permanent barrier structures in front isn't something that we can do, but if there are other options that you want to explore, that's what this discussion is for.
Okay, so I'll bring it to council to discuss. Councilmember Finch.
The barricades I was referring to was not in the gate access, but where everybody's been parking next to it, across the street. I've had friends that have lived there for many years. I've had family live there right next to it, and I've sat there with my grandchildren and I've watched the things that go on there. It's quite shocking that even a grandchild should not witness. And we need to keep the people at bay from parking in a residential area with some of the things that have gone on there. And I'd like to see the signs have if the chiefs can enforce this, a fine of $150 and or towed.
Okay. Could we ask, is that something we can put on a sign before we even decide if we want to? Is that, you know?
I'll invite the chief to speak to that.
Yeah, since we have the chief right here, if you don't mind moving him up. Okay. What do you know?
I believe that we can do whatever you guys decide that you'd like to do. So the idea of making it clearly posted what the fines are, and that towing is certainly an option. That would be a good idea, just to make that real clear on the signs. But yeah, I think we can do this.
Okay. Councilmember Finch.
And for the record, I make clear that in the wintertime, the concrete bunkers can be pushed, or barricades can be pushed back with a loader for snow removal, but none in front of the gate area.
So we have two suggestions going, though. The putting, like this emergency thing, a fine and towing option, but then also the barriers.
Yeah.
So I see those as two different discussion items myself. But Can we just talk about one and then the other, perhaps? Is that okay? Start with Councilmember Wells. Go ahead, pick one.
I'm going to pick the fine.
Okay.
I know that we have an issue with towing vehicles right now, because if I understand correctly, we have limited ability as far as towing vehicle goes. So, would putting, I understand the fine part, but will we actually be able to tow a vehicle from there? The person who has the company that has the tow truck here in town, are they going to participate in that?
If they're available, then we would do what we could to get them there, but there's nothing that the police department can do to guarantee that they'll respond.
Right.
And I guess, just to be clear, so everybody's thinking about it, the singular tow truck company that we have here in town is talking about getting out of that business. So we may find ourselves down the road here crossing a bridge that we may not want to cross, where, you know, do you guys want, is there a appetite for going into our own towing? You know, or that, you know, so I just want to throw that out there so you're aware.
But sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, just sometimes the threat of towing on a sign will be more impactful on the sign than actually towing. You know, seeing you may be towed if you're parked here, while that potentially could not happen, it does just add a bit of brevity to the sign itself.
Thank you.
And ironically, I've heard there possibly will be another towing company in town. Maybe out of town, but it's willing to come into town.
Okay. So it could say, no parking, emergency access only, towing enforced. Okay, and a fine?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so if we're talking fine, how much of a fine would be enough to keep people from parking there? I think any amount would be, but, I mean, if they can read. So what do you think for an amount? $150. Can we enforce that?
Whatever you guys set that to be is what we will enforce.
So how would it work if you came along, or Cheryl Cease reports there's somebody parked there and you come over, you could put a ticket on their car saying 150, and then they would have to come and pay the fine, right? I mean, it would be enforced like we would be enforcing just about anything?
It would. The only thing that I would, the only thing that occurs to me that could be a little tricky is that we're talking about a city ordinance going before a state magistrate.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, it might be a good idea to, before you decide on what that dollar amount is, just maybe have this vetted through the attorneys, and
which we could do that.
I think that would be smart, just because, you know, you're going to want something that the court will accept. And I don't know if, I believe that you guys can pass whatever amount you want to. I'm just not sure if $150 for a parking violation would get accepted at the court.
We would need to find out.
But if the council would like to recommend that we move forward with putting in a fine, and then we can talk with our attorneys and see what that level would be, and we can communicate that out before printing the signs.
And then bring it back, maybe bring it back at the next meeting,
Yeah, we can bring
and
that
we could
back.
make the final decision. I mean, it is sort of timely, but, you know.
Well, with the fine, wouldn't we have to have an ordinance to enact that fine?
Right.
Put it into the fee schedule?
But so we would have to, it would have to come back to us. Let me get, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Yeah, let me get Mr. Finch.
Thank you, ma'am. Chief, what is the fine for parking in the handicap spot? And we could make it comparable, because in my brain anyway, because it seems like that we know the state is willing to enforce that.
It's been a while since I've written that one myself. So I can't tell you exactly off the top of my head, but I believe it's, one of the interesting things about that one is it's structured by offense. So it gets more expensive if you've had that offense before. But it's kind of unique in that, there's only a handful of those that do that, but, and I don't know if we'd want to, try to get into that here. I just think setting a sufficient fee would be the smart thing to do.
Thank you, Chief.
The fine for parking in a handicap spot is $125.
Oh, well,
For the
then
first
we should be
offense.
in that
For the first
ballpark.
offense.
Yeah,
Yeah, set it at that one.
yeah. Well, it sounds like that would be a significant deterrent. It boggles my mind that people still park there, especially if they're climbing the mountain. They certainly could walk a block, instead of park right at the trailhead. But if it says, people would understand too, it is an emergency road. They don't know that. So that's a thing. So I think all of this sounds good to me, but yes, Councilmember Finch.
I laugh because I've seen the neighbors come out, I've been walking down there and the neighbors come out and tell people, hey, you can't park there, and they just close the door and run up the mountain.
Yeah. Oh, I've been climbing when people park there, and yeah, it's interesting. But if there is enforcement, the word will get out, I think.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good thing.
With the amount listed on there.
And with really good signs.
Yeah.
With the arrows pointed the right way, and all of that. So careful with the signs, Councilmember Finch.
Also across the street, because I know where the signs were last year, everybody's parking across the street. I mean, there shouldn't be any parking except for the residents there on that Jeep trail.
Well, that's another topic, I think, because I don't know, we can discuss it. It is a public street.
If I may, I would even like to bring the fire chief in on this. I'd be curious if it would be possible to make it a fire lane. That emergency access is generally always the fire department. And I don't know if that's possible or not, so I don't want to, make it sound like, oh, you can absolutely do this, but if it is possible to do that, then, painting it as a fire lane would really put some teeth into this, and then we could enforce it as a fire lane.
Why not?
Which is nice, because a fire lane, like, you don't have to wait to tow somebody. A fire lane already has its own fees that are, significant, so I just wanted to throw that out there. It just occurred to me.
That's a great idea.
I like that.
Wow, so maybe we should check that out?
That's a great idea. We can have
we
can bring this back.
Yeah, this discussion to finalize it next meeting? Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah, this is great.
'Cause
This is a
we've got
good
great
first.
ideas.
This is a great first discussion, and
Yeah.
we can bring the Chief Kreitz into the conversation as well, and bring something forward at the next meeting.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Any other input on that? We're whipping right along. We're down to citizen comments, which should go fairly quickly unless somebody just comes in. This is when you get 5 minutes to speak on any subject, and there's no sign up for this. Is anyone wishing to speak in the world of citizens? I see nobody. Which brings it to council and administration comments and responses to citizen comments. And I'm going to start with Councilmember Barnwell.
Thank you, City Manager and Assistant City Manager and the Clerk, for such a short meeting. Appreciate that. This is the first meeting I haven't been back since I went to DC with Kat Sorensen and Norm Regis. And I just want to say that it was, I'm sure you guys talked about it last meeting, but I had a great time and I was very impressed with our group. Kat and Norm are awesome. I think we're going to really miss Norm, obviously, and Nort. But seeing Norm and Kat together performing at a high level it was great to see him. It was really professional. So that's fun to see. Otherwise, I'm good.
You're good? Okay, Councilmember Kreitz.
I just wanted to congratulate Norm and Nort for their 30 years.
Okay, Councilmember Wells.
Thank you for remembering my name.
It's really tough for some reason because we're missing a person.
Absolute massive thanks to Norm and Nort, and You know, when I first came to Seward, Norm was the very first person who worked for the city that I had any business dealings with whatsoever. And I was extremely young, and that man is an inspiration, and he'll be deeply missed.
That's it. Okay, Councilmember Finch.
I'd like to thank Norm for everything he's done. I mean, he's gone above and beyond over the years that I've known him. And same with Adelmann. You know, thank you guys both for your service. You will be missed, and that's a lot of experience walking out, retiring.
Okay, thank you. And Councilmember Calhoun.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to thank everybody, people that weren't listening in or to our work session. At least we got some conversations started with Providence and our relationship, and hopefully we'll all get a little better understanding of that as we move forward. I want to thank Norm and Nort both for their almost 3 decades worth of service to the city of Seward. Definitely a lot of experience that will be missed, but I'll bet they'll answer some questions if we need them to from time to time. And we do have good people backfilling them, so but congratulations to those guys, and the best to them and their families in their retirement and their future endeavors. Since I will not be at the next meeting, I just want to say, everybody, don't forget Mother's Day on the 12th of May. That's coming up. We don't want to forget our mothers. Armed Forces Day is on May 18th.
Okay.
That is harbor opening weekend also, and I think the Mermaid Festival saw a lot going on, but that is Armed Forces Day on May 18th. For anybody that's riding a motorized vehicle with less than 4 wheels, the bike blessing will take place on that morning in front of the American Legion. I think it's about 9:30. Father William Hanrahan will be doing the bike blessing on that morning for everybody with motorcycles and those kind of things. The combat fishing tournament is also right around the corner. That's May 22nd. You know, they roll into town early in the morning, about 4:30 or so. But anybody that's up that early and wants to wave and say hi to them, they'll be bringing about 250 active duty personnel to Seward. The Charter Boat Association will take them out for a day of fishing, and then we will feed about 400 people that night. After that, for the banquet, the awards banquet and everything. So it's a great thing. And a lot of organizations are involved in that. So that's something to look forward to. And then obviously, right after that is Memorial Day weekend. And our next meeting I'll be at is the day after Memorial Day. I looked at the calendar right. So I just wanted to remind everybody that there is a Memorial Day ceremony at the Legion Cemetery about 11 a.m. or so. We get started usually after the train has gone by because it's really noisy. So put that on your calendars for Memorial Day. And I think that is all that I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I also want to congratulate Norm and Nort. Retirement's wonderful. They can start giving back. They can start volunteering even more than they do already. So I want to encourage that. I want to also mention, this is my annual mentioning, but kids are out on bikes now. And kids are out on bikes that haven't been on bikes for a while, and they kind of jut out into the traffic sometimes. So be really careful about kids on bikes. And since we don't meet again till May 13th, is that the day? The city's trash pickup is May 11th, and we need trash pickup like crazy. And I'm assuming we can probably go in a little early and get those yellow bags from Parks and Rec. I do not know this for sure, but that would be the day where we get. Let me finish, and then if anybody else has to. So that's a fun thing, but also very needed. I have a very sad thing to convey to people if they don't know already. My good friend Mariana Kyle passed away yesterday at 6:00 p.m. at her home, surrounded by family. And she gave up the 6-year fight of cancer, and her family was there. And they're more than happy to hear from people. They don't have any plans, and they told me that if you feel like contributing something, as people often do when people pass, their wish is to give money to the Seward Hospice group. So it's very sad. She was on council, she was on planning and zoning for years, she was on city council for years, she was vice mayor for years, and I'm preparing in memoriam proclamation for her for probably the next meeting. So I think people will be here for accepting that, but it's just sad to have another one of my good friends pass, so just wanted to let people know. Councilmember Finch.
Just looking at the calendar here, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, but the bike rodeo is May 10th and 11th?
The 11th.
The 11th, same day as the everything, yeah, trash.
Bring your kids down, it's a lot of fun.
Okay, any,
I do have one more.
of course you do.
And I feel very bad, I forgot this. The American Legion Auxiliary Unit 5 will be putting out the poppy cans directly. Those donations go to support all those programs involved there, so you'll see poppy cans around the different locations in the city throughout the month of May. And so just keep in mind, it's for veterans, health and benefit, children and youth programs and that kind of thing. So you'll see those out there.
And I will also add that at the last meeting, or the next meeting, I guess, the meeting, whatever meeting you're going to be gone for, I will remind people about the Memorial Day service out there, because I go to it every year and it's a very important thing. So with that, I will adjourn this meeting at 7:46 p.m.